everyone, this is the Sci-Fi Feminist here. Let's talk today about one of the greatest characters in Star Trek ever, which is, of course, Seven of Nine. So, you might know Seven of Nine as the socially awkward, super smart, and super beautiful cyborg in a silver catsuit from Star Trek Voyager. But while at first glance she seems like just another sexy blonde on the show that was included to boost the show's ratings, there's definitely more to Seven of Nine than meets the eye, especially when it comes to her obviously romantically charged relationship with Captain Janeway and her progression in Star Trek Picard.
Hello, Seven.
In 2020, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, I had the privilege of meeting Kate Mulgrew in a Zoom meeting, and I got to ask her one question. So, of course, my question to her was, is Captain Janeway in love with Seven of Nine? To my disappointment, Kate Mulgrew denied that there were any romantic connections between Janeway and Seven, but many fans, including myself, have picked up and elaborated in over 700 fan fictions, might I add, on the idea that Seven of Nine might in fact be a queer character. There are countless instances in Voyager where there is tangible romantic tension between Captain Janeway and Seven of Nine, and for me, their connection has always been more than a maternal bond, as some, including Kate Mulgrew herself, claim it is. Yet, in the final episode of Voyager, in a completely random turn of events, Seven and First Officer Chakotay start dating. This was especially confusing since the two characters have had no romantic interactions or even a bit of chemistry in the past 4 seasons of Voyager. Some say that because of Seven's dabbling with queer themes, writers added the relationship between Seven and Chakotay to reinforce the fact that she is heterosexual, since the show aired in the 90s when LGBTQ plus representation was a little bit controversial. In fact, Jerry Taylor, who was one of the writers on Voyager, wanted to introduce Seven as bisexual back in the 90s, but that would have been a big no-no back then, and so she was cast as Seven of Nine, as we saw her in Voyager, who ended up being heterosexual in a relationship with First Officer Chakotay. But to our delight, almost 20 years later, Seven of Nine reappears in Star Trek Picard, not as a pretty blonde in a catsuit, but as a gun-toting intergalactic vigilante who drinks her whiskey straight. From a new look and more emotional personality, it goes without saying that Seven of Nine underwent various changes since her time on Voyager, but one of the most important things that writers seem to fix in Star Trek Picard is Seven of Nine's sexuality. Around halfway through season 1, we are introduced to a weird character called Bejazel. Yeah, that is actually her name. And from Seven's interactions with her, we can assume that they had some sort of a lover's quarrel before. By the end of season 1 of Star Trek Picard, Seven and another member of the crew, Raffi, are seen interlocking hands, and that confirmed that Seven of Nine is indeed bisexual. Seasons 2 and 3 explore Seven and Raffi's slightly complicated romantic relationship, but what do you expect from being in love with an ex-Borg? What's great about their representation is that it does not show some lesbian fantasy that idealizes and sexualizes the characters, but we are shown how Seven and Raffi overcome obstacles and navigate issues together, kind of like Seven and Captain Janeway used to do back on Voyager. The relationship between Seven and Raffi also makes sense, unlike the random Chakotay Seven mashup that happened at the end of Voyager. May we pretend like that never ever happened. This new queer status, or should we rather say, the queer status that was always there but that was denied by 1990s homophobia, of the character is important because it shows how far we have come in terms of LGBTQ plus representation. Seven was always queer, and it is finally acknowledged in Picard, even though it is only 20 years later. If you like this video, let me know in the comments, and I will happily talk more about Seven of Nine, Janeway, and even the Borg.